But I want to concentrate first on some of the things this Khanduri Committee report reveals. It reveals, for instance, that the new Mountain Strike Corps is being funded from the army budget. You don't have a separate specific allocation for this purpose. Now, that means that at a time when the army is already critically short of equipment and it believes it's not getting enough money for capital purchases, more and more money is being diverted from expenditure where it's needed to salaries and revenue purposes.
No, all revenue is not bad. Non-salary revenue is required because whatever equipments you have needs to be maintained and supplied.
But if you add a new
what
corps,
you said has a meaning.
soldiers, you're going to add to the salary.
2010 or 11, sometime the decision was taken to raise this mountain corps, and people were employed. But their equipment and in everything, no arrangement was made. I have taken up the issue now, and I am making all arrangements.
This is another.
But that does not mean we have drawn on emergency supplies. We have drawn from the regular supplies only. We are okay with it, but it has to be replenished by a procedure, proper procedure.
In fact, the Khanduri Committee report suggested doing it on the basis of war voice wastages.
No.
The report is wrong?
I'm not saying we have not gone into the reserves of the war wastages.
But again,
we had adequate cushioning in these standard issues. These are standard issues.
But what you're saying about the Mountain Strike Corps is that the decision was taken as far back as 2010, 2011 by the last government, but adequate budgetary allocation wasn't made.
In 13-14 it was not done. That was the government this government is now making the arrangement, and we will probably, I have moved the note for the cabinet.
So there are at least two critical areas where the last Defence Minister A.K. Antony failed to do his duty properly. He failed to be aware of deficiencies in army equipment and to take remedial steps, and he failed to properly budget for the new Mountain Strike Corps.
I will only say that there were failures across board. When you create a system where you are creating a mountain corps, you have to make the adequate provisions at appropriate time.
And that wasn't done.
So I am trying to get it through, and maybe another month's time it should be.
When you say there were failures across the board, are you also suggesting that there were failures at the level of the army itself?
See, the basic issue is decision-making authority is at various levels. Not all decision-making authority is ministry. There is a delegation of power. Delegation of power, issue of increasing the delegation was there for quite some time. Nothing was decided on it.
Many people below the
Like for example, DRDO, there was the issue of delegating power to the cluster heads. I took the decision, I have taken the decision, maybe few days more the order will be issued for delegating the power. Same way, delegating powers to various.
So you're saying the Defence Secretary has responsibilities to shoulder, the Army Chief has responsibilities to shoulder, all of them are responsible.
But if there is no delegation of power to them, then they cannot perform unless the Ministry of Defence or the government approves.
So the final responsibility lies with A.K. Antony.
The buck stops here.
Let's then come to the Air Force. At a time when in fact the Air Force has only 34 or 35 squadrons against its sanctioned strength of 42, you've revealed at a recent press conference that in fact there are serious problems or complications, to use your precise word, with the Rafale project. The newspapers say that the complications are to do with Dassault not wanting to accept responsibility for the planes manufactured
Ultimately it has to fit in RFP.
Absolutely.
If it does not fit the requirement for procurement, I can't do anything on that. But mind you, if 35 squadron can be brought to a proper shape, that would give us more time to increase the strength.
Let's focus for a little on the Rafale project. How serious are these complications? The press says they are to do with Dassault not accepting accountability for planes manufactured. They are to do with financial guarantees.
There are authorities given the task. I have told them to speed it up, and I'll see that it is speeded up. I have told French company also to send a person to work out the differences.
Which is happening at the end of this month.
Ultimately, you have to be clear that irrespective of anything, the RFP terms has to be met. That they cannot be diluted.
And if those terms are not fully met, you've also mentioned at your press conference the possibility that the Air Force's requirements could be met by the Sukhoi 30, which is manufactured in Nashik.
We are upgrading the Sukhoi 30. It requires an electronic warfare suit. With that, I think we can, and if we put more Air Force planes on
Let me ask you bluntly,
functional.
what are the chances that the government may not go ahead with the Rafale deal?
I can't say anything because unless that whatever that CNC price negotiating committee comes out with its report, I am not entitled to know exactly what is the
That's
status.
the second problem the press is saying, that not only is Dassault reluctant to accept responsibility for planes manufactured by HAL, which is one problem, and then there are other problems to do with financial guarantees, but the cost of the whole project has also gone up from 42,000 crore to over a lakh crore.
Not, I don't think it's lakh crore, but
close
even
to that.
Otherwise it's a quite high amount. Whether it's 40,000 crores or whether it is 50,000 or a lakh crores, we are speaking about 50% of the capital budget of the
Absolutely. This is why I
total
asked,
defense force.
is this Rafale project now in cost-effective terms still making sense?
No, we have to basically also, that's why I said, it's not always go on purchasing, it's cost effective purchase that is also important.
This could be a grounds for not going ahead with Rafale in the end.
I'm not commenting on it unless that report comes to me, because it will be irrational or influencing the committee. Therefore, I will not.
One other question on this. You've already indicated at your press conference that if Rafale doesn't happen, Sukhoi 30 could be an adequate replacement. Does it mean, therefore, that the Eurofighter is now ruled out?
I am not commenting on that. How can you consider another plane when L1 has been determined? The rules don't permit, unless it is some government to government.
So Eurofighter is out, that's for sure.
That is a normal procedural of any acquisition.
It's only Sukhoi that could replace Rafale.
You can't jump from one to other.
That I understand.
There will be immediately allegation and headlines on the.
So the choices
today.
between Rafale and Sukhoi 30.
No, Sukhoi 30 choice is always there. What I mean to say that upgrade Sukhoi 30, make it more capable, and make the operational percentage better. You will have a good effective force.
Let's then come to something you said in Gandhinagar yesterday, Sunday. You said that the defense procurement procedure would be changed by March 2015. You said in the next 2 months you'd have a new policy for defense procurement, and you said it would be simplified and it would be time bound. Can you give me a few more details about what you have in mind?
First, I'll say that any defense procurement procedure is not an static issue. As we come across difficulties,
it changes.
It has to be changed, but it has to be a policy change. It cannot be a change suiting to a particular company. Defense procurement procedure of 2013 does not have good clarity. Therefore, the interpretation becomes a problem. So, first of all, you will be surprised to know that Buy Indian is only with 30%. What is the difference between Buy Global and Buy Indian, except that you are buying in the first case from an Indian company and in the second case from a foreign company. So we need to very clearly classify types of procurement if you want to make India a better prospect. And I'll add one more point. I'm considering even a aspect where by a particular point certain products will no more be exported.
In fact, no more imported, you mean?
Sorry, no more be imported.
In fact, you said that will happen as early as 2016.
Maybe few items can be brought under there where we have already developed capability of substituting, import substitute. Some items can be even as early as 2016, can be put on the list of no import.
Are you confident that you're getting encouraging responses from foreign companies wanting to joint venture partner with Indians under the 49% permission that you granted?
You have to realize one very important factor about defense or arms or whatever defense needs. Most of the needs are a single buyer condition. It's not except where you can export, and that has not picked up in India, and that is only a second step. The buyer is only one.
The Indian Army.
Indian Defence Forces. They are the buyers.
This is
so
sufficient.
Unless a buyer very clearly tells you that I'm going to buy from you if you provided you develop this product successfully for next 5 years, next 10 years. You are not going to pump in 100 crores, 200 crores or 300 crores or 400 crores, whatever the
This
amount.
is why you believe 49% equity is sufficient to attract good companies.
49% equity is one of the issue. But the main issue is a guaranteed customer, assured customer. So only when a private sector has a guarantee that Government of India is going to buy from him,
Okay.
subject to of course condition that he fulfills the requirement, then he is going to invest. And when he invests, he will also get some technology, he will get foreign partner, where 49% helps him better than 26%.
Two more questions about defense procurement before I change subjects again. In a press conference recently and before that at the Archduke Conclave, you indicated that under certain specific tight conditions, you could consider permitting defense agents, and you might also stop the policy of blacklisting companies which have violated procurement norms. And I want to ask you this, were you simply loud thinking when you said these things,
No,
or is
I'm
this
not.
a real indication of change?
No, it is indication. We have worked out. See, you cannot blacklist carte blank. You can't do it in a short. That means a particular company is blacklisted. All people with its relation are blacklisted. What happens to your already acquired material? Are you not going to service it? Are you not going to require spare parts? So there are various conditions where already material is procured and the company gets blacklisted. Then you will have to keep the relation with the company for your own good. So my decision, the basic caveat is interest of Indian Defence Force and its capability. That is the first rider.
I understand your point on blacklisting. Are you also equally committed to changing the stipulation that you can't have defense agents? I know there are with strict conditions. You want the relationship with the company known, you want the fee known, you want to rule out things like success fees, bonuses or
and
percentages.
yes.
All of that you want to rule out. But once that's done, is this serious or is this just loud thinking?
No, it's serious. It will be part of DPP.
Does the Prime Minister support your thinking in these areas?
I think so.
What do you mean think?
I have not put up the details. When I put up the details to him,
Then you'll find out.
then definitely I will know. But I don't think there is an opposition to what I am proposing.
How quickly could these changes happen?
Along with DPP, it has to come along with it.
So they could happen
So-
as quickly as March 2015.
Some of them may happen even before. See, DPP need not be done in a one shot. There are various issues. One is agent, the other is blacklisting, third is how do you define make in India and how do you engage Indian companies into actual production, guaranteeing their involvement. Fourth is getting small industries, and the fifth one is offset. These are 5 issues which needs to be tackled in a transparent but clear and without complication.
And you're saying that these may begin to happen well before March 2015?
Some of them may happen before that.
And by
For
March...
example, this blacklisting and the agents, we have done a rough paper. By this month end, the paper, so that chapter of DPP
will be finished.
gets modified to that.
And the whole thing will be officially known and finalized by
Obviously.
March 2015.
Should be.
That's your deadline.
No, that is my deadline. There are obviously more than my department involved, so it may take some more time also, but not very long time.
Let's, Minister, now come to an issue that matters a lot, not just to serving officers and Jawans, but also to 2 million ex-servicemen and 400,000 widows, one rank, one pension. In July, Finance Minister Arun Jaitley committed the government to fulfilling OROP. In October, when he went for Diwali to Siachen, the Prime Minister said, although at the time he said it wrongly, that OROP had been fulfilled. But then in December, you suddenly said that actually only 80% of OROP would be filled, and you added 100% satisfaction is never given in real life. Why are you scaling it back? Why are you
No, I'm not
reneging?
scaling it back. I'm not talking about pension, I'm talking about satisfaction.
Well, what's the difference?
Satisfaction is some people may be satisfied at a particular level, others may not have that satisfaction, because ultimately we will have to work out one rank, one pension. I have understood properly. I am working out the practical difficulties in implementing it. There are administrative matters. I'll give you one
Go ahead.
small
This is very
example.
important. I want you to explain.
I'll give you one small example. Two people joined the army on a particular day and both retire on a particular day. Their own salaries will not be equal. Because if one person has spent higher number of years in a higher rank, his salary will be maybe 500 rupees, maybe 1000 rupees more than the other one who has spent less number of years. And pension is a salary related link. So I am trying to work out solution to this kind of small issues. There is another fear among some people that this may have a demand coming from civil bureaucrats. So for that also there has to be a proper justification.
Let me ask you the critical question that many ex-servicemen want you to answer. Is the government committed to ensuring that people who retire at the same rank, after having done a similar number of years of service, will get the same pension regardless of when they retire?
That is a point. What is that common point? I just explained to you.
See, your explanation actually suggests they won't get the same pension.
It is very close, but it is not same. So how do you work out what is that same figure? Is it a mean of that?
So you're saying the difference is the result of...
How do you tell me, if two people with the same number of service retiring on the same day, but one person serving more in offices
in a higher
rank will get slightly higher salary, and since pension is linked with salary, I will have to come out with a satisfactory calculation method for giving the pension.
You're making one...
I know there are suggestions to me and I'm going through it. I can't answer everything.
You're making one point clear, which is this, that when you said that OROP will only be fulfilled to 80%, you weren't actually saying that OROP will be 80%, you were saying the level of satisfaction people will get.
May be 80%. See, in fact what I said is, I said that whenever a government takes a decision, a satisfaction level of 80% and above is considered as a fulfillment of the promise. I never said that a pension is 80%.
I understand. And the reason why satisfaction levels will only be 80%...
Because some people may still dispute on the method of calculating the ORP.
Number one.
But the basic framework of concept of ORP will be fulfilled.
The basic framework will be fulfilled.
Yes.
The anomaly or the difference will be because
some minor anomalies.
Two people who retire as lieutenant generals may retire with different salaries because they've held the post for a different length of time.
I gave this as an example.
Absolutely.
It's not that I have not found a solution to it. I am finding a solution to it. I am working on it. I am discussing with many veterans.
How quickly will you find the solution?
See, my target, I believe that whenever a promise is given in a budget, normally it has to be fulfilled within 12 months. So if Jaitley said it in July.
And Chidambaram in February?
Chidambaram is not my promise.
Okay, Jaitley in July, you got 12 months.
promise is my promise, my government. So I should be able to fulfill it technically before July, but I am trying to do it during the current financial year.
And if it only gets fulfilled in July, will it be backdated to July last year? Will it be backdated to July last year?
Yes. Those date 1/4, everything is the mode of another issue. The mode of payment of this year's current years, because we have said that it will be effective from 1st April 2014. There will be a issue of payment from 1st April 2014 till the date when we actually issue the order. That amount will have to be paid separately to the veterans, maybe in chunks of quarterly payment as arrears. So that may not satisfy few people.
Well, as long as it's paid, you're only saying there will be a certain delay in payment, but it will be paid.
It will be paid.
Backdated to
and yes. 1/4/2014. That is a commitment of the party and the government.
One last question.
With these small corrections, small adjustments, I think we should come to a good solution. We have to
by July this year.
July is the upper deadline. For me, I am considering the current financial year as a first deadline.
So it could be by 31st March.
I am trying to get it.
One last question on OROP. There's a lot of speculation that the figure put out by the Controller of Defence Accounts that this will cost 9,300
14,000 is the figure quoted because the way it was put up. So that's why I have started consultation. I have done some consultation.
14,000 crore is the new figure.
14,000 was the maximum figure. There are figures of 600 crores, 900 crores, 1,300 crores by committee under Koshari. They showed the figure as 1,300 crores. So calculation is bizarre. There's a different set of calculation. I need some time to get this calculation on proper
What do you
frame.
believe is in fact the correct calculation of the cost of OROP?
Around between 8,000 to 9,000 crores. This is my judgment after listening to people, not my calculation.
And the government is prepared
I am
and
good
you're
at
prepared to
figures.
accept, and you're prepared to accept that figure of 9,000 crore?
8 to 9,000 if commitment has been given.
It's not going to put you
According
off.
to me, commitment has to be fulfilled.
So cost is not a concern in fulfilling a commitment.
That is what Jaitley said in his speech.
Absolutely. The reason I ask is because many people
He
began to say,
provided 1,000 crores as an starting because he was also not aware probably of what is the cost. But I think ultimately the cost to the government effectively will be around between 6 to 8,000. This is my personal calculations based on the figures I have. But they say that it is 8,000, 9,000. My calculation indicates around 6 to 8,000.
and this is a figure that won't put the government off. You're prepared to pay it.
These are
You're
all
prepared to pay it.
These are all figures which are speculative in nature. Let me be very clear.
Sure. No, what I'm trying to understand is this.
I don't think it should.
Cost won't put you off.
Absolutely no. Cost is not the reason.
So
Execution of an proper mechanism to execute it is what is the constraint.
one last question. There's reports in the press which say that when President Obama visits on Republic Day, the government will sign a new defense framework agreement with the American government, which will last for the next 10 years. Can you confirm that this is going to happen?
This is one of the possibilities, but those are issues managed at the PMO level, Prime Minister's
But
office.
as you say, this is a likely possibility?
These are issues which are in the spectrum or horizon.
Would you as a defense minister welcome and want a new defense framework agreement?
See, I think strengthening our ties with the US and with already existing defense agreement with them, enhancing its scope is definitely beneficial to the country.
What are the sort of areas where the scope of the new agreement would be enhanced compared to the old one?
Technology transfer initiatives, trade and technology transfer initiatives can be one of the important area of.
The press suggests, the Times of India in particular, that you could have enhanced and deeper, wider joint military exercises. Is that a possibility?
It's already going on. Enhancing it is not a big problem because exercises are extensive exercises go with many navies, including United States. So those are not the issue. Defense technology, trade and technology initiative is one of the important aspect which.
And when you talk about defense technology, does it mean that there will be more American purchases of equipment by India, as well as more American companies coming to India to manufacture under Make in India?
Sharing. There is another area where, for example, even Defense University, some assistance and
including when you talk about sharing, greater intelligence collaboration and intelligence sharing.
All those things are on board, but obviously until you come to a conclusion,
So am I
be confirmed.
Am I right in believing that American defense companies will play a fairly substantial role in the defense side of Make in India?
I said government. So it's initiative at government to government level, not business to government level.
Okay. So in fact, whatever American...
And not necessarily procurement of the acquisition. It can be development of a technology.
Joint development of technology is also possible.
Absolutely, in certain areas.
Like the stealth aircraft with Russia.
No, I'm not pointing out any specific
But a whole range of...
There's already existing trade and technology initiatives which can be expanded.
So in fact, there is a whole range of new possibilities in terms of the defense relationship with America that are opening up.
Not only defense, it's trade also. And it is initiative with on a better relationship.
a better relationship. Defence Minister, a pleasure talking to you.